Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to talk about The Happiness Patrol, the new special edition on the Season 25 box set with the extended runtime and the updated CGI effects. Now, I haven't gotten my Season 25 box set yet. I live in the States. Mine is currently crossing the pond. However, one of my subscribers has gotten his, and he's a very clever fellow. So he has enabled me to be able to watch that, and I enjoyed it, actually. I've been a big fan of the Happiness Patrol. I've only seen it once. I think it was the only McCoy story I hadn't seen. One of my subscribers sent me a copy of it on DVD, and if you remember that review from, I think sometime last year, I very much enjoyed the Happiness Patrol. It's my favorite story of Season 25, and I was curious, one, what I would think of the new version, but two, what I would think on a rewatch, because you can't always finalize your opinion on the story by the first time you watch a story. It's always interesting to me how a story is going to how it's going to hold up on rewatch. Any kind of episode of any TV show or movie, how is it going to hold up on a rewatch? This one holds up really well. Now, having seen the Happiness Patrol only one time before, I can't sit here and nitpick and tell you everything that's been changed. Like, I can't tell you what scenes are in the special edition that aren't in the original version. I tend to notice differences in scenes more than in omnibuses than I do in extended versions. Like, I notice when something is missing a lot more than when something is added in, especially in stories I'm familiar with. Like when I watched the omnibus for The Ark in Space, I immediately noticed things being cut out. Same thing when I watched the omnibus for Day of the Daleks. Those are both stories I've seen a lot. So I notice when stuff is missing. But it's a little harder for me when something has been added in to notice. Especially for a story I've only seen once before. But I do enjoy it. The updated effects look nice, especially a lot of the, I guess I could call them establishing shots where you see just the landscape, the city, kind of gives it more atmosphere. I like the neon lights. Not only does it kind of fit the tone of the story, but it's also very in keeping with this being a story from the 80s. I enjoyed that. Again, since I don't really notice the extra scenes, I can't sit here and go, well, this fleshes this scene out, or no, this makes it drag a little. I really just judged this version of the story on how I enjoyed it, which I like it. The runtime, they tend to run about 28 to 31 minutes an episode. It's a three-parter. I think one is 30 minutes, one is 31, one is 28. I feel like they fill out that runtime very well. I was very engaged with the story. I'm not sure if the soundtrack is a new soundtrack or if it's just the original soundtrack extended. Again, I don't quite remember the incidental music very clearly in my head. So I don't know if it's mostly the same soundtrack or incidental music or if the incidental music has been completely redone for it. I did like it. I can say that for the special edition. I enjoyed the incidental music and thought it fit the tone of the story really well. Sylvester McCoy is so good in this. This is one of those stories that when you watch it, you realize just how underrated he is as the Doctor. He is such a good Doctor. He is so calm and collected, and he has this stare. He just comes across as this man you don't want to mess with. Now, like, you might not get that from him at a glance. Kind of like Columbo in a way where you look at him and you kind of underestimate him. Maybe because he's a shorter fellow. Maybe because he might not have the best dress sense. But you look at his eyes and the looks on his face, you don't want to mess with this guy. The Seventh Doctor feels in control of this story the whole time. He never feels on the back foot. He never feels like he's confused and doesn't know what to do. He always knows what he's doing. He feels confident. He feels relaxed. He never feels worried or concerned in a way where he feels in over his head. He never feels in over his head. He always is very self-assured and knows what he's doing. He feels more self-confident and knows what he's getting into in just one part of this story than Jodie Whittaker did in her whole era. I mean, Jodie Whittaker had moments where she was self-confident, but so many times she felt like she was on the back foot and unsure of herself. McCoy has her whole tenure beat with just one part of this story, much less the whole story. I love his performance. This is one of those stories where if you want someone to like the Seventh Doctor, show them this one. It is such a crime that people tend to think all of McCoy's era is season 24. Actually, that's not a fair statement. People seem to think all of McCoy's era is Time and the Ronnie. Because some people seem to think all of season 24 is Time and the Ronnie. It's not the case. The only time the 7th Doctor is like he is in Time and the Ronnie is in Time and the Ronnie. And I still like him in that. But even by Paradise Towers, he started developing more as a character. I love Paradise Towers, my favorite story of season 24. And we see more of this here. And it's a shame that people who aren't as familiar with this era, people who don't watch this era, like people, more casual fans, or people who just watch the modern series and cherry pick classic, who, if they even do that, I really feel like they don't have the correct impression of the 7th Doctor, because I feel like they've either seen Time and the Ronnie because it's his first story and people like to watch regeneration and post-regeneration stories. Maybe they've seen Survival because it's the last one, even though he's very good in that as well. They miss out on who the 7th Doctor really is and his character. And I just love him in this because he is so confident. He is so serious. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's like he's a gentle soul, but he's still hardened in a way. It's really hard to explain how he balances both of these aspects. Like, I love when he's listening to the blues, I can't talk tonight, the blues music with a smile on his face. I like the guy playing the blues musician too. I really like the cast. I mean, Sheila is great as Helen A. But all of the girls in the Happiness Patrol are really good too. Patricia P is really good. The other one that's kind of the second-in-command antagonist is really good. The one that becomes friends with Ace, who doesn't really like being in the Happiness Patrol, she's really good. And of course, Sophie's putting in a good performance as Ace, because Ace is having none of this. I like the actor playing the Candyman. I think they do a really good job. I like the Candyman. The Candyman is a little silly in design, but it's the 80s. The 80s are a little silly in design. And I know the copyright infringement stuff with the Candyman. I know. And the Candyman still looks way better than the robot from The Visitation. I can never take that thing seriously. It looks fine when it's in its Grim Reaper outfit, but when it's out of it, I can't take it seriously. The Candyman's a huge improvement on that. I still find the Candyman interesting as a character, though, because it is kind of this mascot for children almost, and it kills people. There's just, like I said, there's a lot in this story that's turning things on their head. It's some wonderful political satire, and it is taking a political point and sending it to this ridiculous extreme that, you know, it's illegal to be unhappy. And it's doing that to make a point. Too much of anything is a bad thing. That you need sadness in your life. You know, you can't just be happy all the time because it feels too much like you're forcing it, that you're running away from your problems instead of confronting them. I really enjoy the actual story and the plot and how people rebel against that, because we're not meant to be happy all the time. We have to face our depressions and our sadness and our anger and our rage and our frustration and all these other negative emotions that are just part of life. You know, this story really hits with me, especially here in the States, where the past 4 years have been just difficult, where the government basically has this mentality of you'll have nothing and you'll like it, where housing has become so expensive, whether it be a mortgage payment or rent payment. Believe me, I know, where everything price-wise has increased. I know you in the UK are going through the same thing. Y'all recently had some elections, and when y'all had those elections, I know there were so many memes and comparisons for the Happiness Patrol coming up online for that, especially the, you know, I hear the sound of empires toppling, which I love that line. And keep in mind that I'm in the US, but neither party really pleases me. You know, I don't blame just one party for the country being in the state it's in. I blame the fact they're constantly fighting each other instead of getting things done. So both parties I have problems with. I don't really identify with either one. But these past 4 years have been hard. They have been. And so this story really resonates with me on that. And it's just a good story. I love the set design. And I love the way the new CGI effects complement the set design. I love the performances. I love the writing of the story. And I love that I love how the story ends for her. How she doesn't die. And how instead she gets a fate for her that's kind of worse than death, where she's upset, where she's crying, especially right after she has that speech with the doctor, that conversation with the doctor about how she doesn't cry, what's the point? And then she sees Fifi, and she dies. I really liked Fifi as well, the realization of Fifi. That is really well done by Classic Who standards. The not animatronics, I know it's basically a puppet, but the facial expressions, and I like when Fifi runs in the pipes. I don't know why, but I really like that. So I really liked how well Fifi was realized. And that Helene cared so much about Fifi that she did get upset and was crying at the end and sad and unhappy. And that seems the perfect fitting end for her character, which I really enjoyed. I did like in the special edition, we actually got to see the death of the Candyman with the candy flowing through the pipes and engulfing the Candyman. I think it's a nice ironic death for the Candyman as well. That's not lost on me. That's the perfect way for the Candyman to go out. And I love the fact that the guy who created the Candyman and Helene's husband left her there. They both got in the shuttle and took off. I love that. I liked seeing the special effects of that with the shuttle leaving. Those look really good. Again, I enjoyed the special effects. This is one of those stories that everything comes together. I like the set design. I like the story. I like the actors. I like the direction. I think it's directed very, very well. It's just a really, really good story. This is definitely one of those stories, if you have a friend who likes satire or enjoys politics in a show in a nice, good way, which, to be fair, that's a very blanket statement, a very vague statement. But I feel like they incorporate it well here. I just feel like it's smart writing. And if someone is interested in Classic Who and they want to see something from the Seventh Doctor, this is a good one to show them, because the Seventh Doctor is just written and performed by Sylvester. Well, written by the writer and then performed by Sylvester so well. It's just a great combination of those things that you have, I think, the best story of the season. I prefer Happiness Patrol even over Remembrance. I just think it's a clever story. In this special edition, it works. I like it. Again, I can't tell what scenes have been added from what scenes haven't, because this is only my second time watching the Happiness Patrol in any form. But I enjoyed it. It never felt padded to me. I thought it was clever. I liked all of the dialogue. And it's still my favorite story of the season. One of my favorite Seventh Doctor stories. I think it's just a very, very clever story. Very well made. So the Happiness Patrol, the special edition. What do you think of it? How does it compare to the original version to you? Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button, the subscribe button. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to support what I do, there's a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to Colin Coney and Sam Venning. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons and my YouTube members. I have a P.O. box down there if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. I have a link to my Amazon wish list down there as well, and my Amazon UK wish list. Most importantly, thank you for watching.